for those of you who are new, our Friday Apple Barn series is, we're here every Friday from 5 to 6. We're late tonight, but that's okay. The whole point of this series is to introduce the public to our incredible artists and scholars who are here visiting from around the country and around the world even sometimes, and for them to get the chance to meet all of you incredible local people in such a special place. So no pressure, Friday evenings, come and go as you please, but we're here every Friday and through mid-October. Okay, so I'm going to introduce both Shondell and Christiane, and that way I don't have to interrupt them in whatever flow they've got going on. We're very lucky this evening to have Christiane Hines. She's a PhD in modern Japanese history and has published articles on entrepreneurship among 19th century, 20th century Japanese women. She's a Pushcart Prize and Best American Essay nominated memoirist, a poet, and a master gardener, specializing in organic gardening, orcharding, and suburban urban ecosystem restoration. She's a beekeeper, a ceramicist, and a textile artist. And Christiane enjoys life with her partner of 25 years and her 2 children. And she is in residence with us now for 2 weeks. And Shondell Fraser is this year's John Brown Lives Fellow at Cray Garden. Thank you, John Brown Lives. Shondell is an environmental psychologist, a public intellectual, and an artist whose work and words catalyze transformation through interdisciplinary engagement. She creates a new nature-culture imagination by developing pragmatic solutions rooted in the social and natural sciences, esoteric wisdom, artistic practice, and healing modalities to create safer environments. As a generalist, multidisciplinary artist, Shondell may employ ceramics, fiber art, digital media, bookbinding, metals, jewelry, papermaking, and traditional crafts as needed. As a social scientist and open Anja thinker, she weaves connections between philosophy, current events, sociocultural norms, aesthetics, pride, and practices. Her goal is ultimately to uncover opportunities for interpersonal alchemy, to drive cultural transformation and consilience rooted in ecofeminist ecology. Thank you. All right, enjoy.
Hi, thank you for coming. I would like to share with you today what it was like to be the second African American woman PhD in Japanese history in the United States. Let me just stop there and read, and maybe you'll see. I'm going to read 2 small excerpts, so you'll be able to tell that they're 2 separate scenarios. It's 1995, the International Year of the Woman. The most economical flight to Japan is the torturous, feet-swelling 2-day sojourn over the pole, Columbus to Toronto, to Calgary, to Anchorage, to Seoul, to Tokyo. This is my 3rd trip to Japan on Korean Air Flight 007. Normally this flight is close to empty. Passengers consist mostly of rumpled Japanese or Korean businessmen returning home on the cheap. With only 1 person per row, travelers stretch their legs across the empty seats, prop themselves against the aircraft's windows, and sleep. This year, however, the flight will be packed. The boarding area is a swarm of African American women in groups of anywhere from 5 to 20 people. They take up space in a way that discomfits the scattered Asian passengers waiting to board the plane. They fill space in a way that I do not. Black women, it seems to me, command public space in a distinctive way that I've always admired. I love how they transform public into something less hollow. It has to do perhaps with the richness of their voices, their gregariousness, or maybe it's the pleasure they take in each other's company. These women are on their way to Beijing for the 4th World Conference on Women. I am not. I pretend to read a book, but glance up from time to time, invariably touching eyes with someone who is gazing at me in curiosity. I nod politely before lowering my eyes back to the book I am not reading. Their gazes have tangible weight. It has not gone unnoticed that something about me is off. I am an oddity, a black woman out of sync, on my own. Something about me doesn't make sense. Eventually, a broad-shouldered woman in magnificent hoop earrings, shining oxblood lipstick, and a kente cloth head wrap leans over the seat between us, an inviting smile on her lips to ask, I'm 8 years old, traveling alone on a Greyhound bus, making the journey home to Cleveland from Cincinnati, where I attend an Episcopal parochial school. Every week on this journey, an elderly black lady or a church choir of black ladies spontaneously adopt me for the length of the trip. In those days, black women filled the seats of Greyhound buses. They were visiting family down south or up north. They were singing their way to distant gospel revivals or tippling gin for 16 hours straight en route to bridge tournaments in nearby states. They dressed to the nines, feet stuffed in sturdy pumps, girdle strapped hips, thick stockings, lipstick, curled wigs pinned firmly in place. My black 8-year-old self riding a Greyhound bus unchaperoned is clearly out of place. By the time the bus reaches highway speed, an elderly lady sitting beside me has already begun to search the depths of her pocketbook for a dusty peppermint, which she successfully uses to coax me into conversation. She faithfully relays my answers to friends who repeat them over the backs of their seats to others too far away to hear. I was trained at a very early age to sir and ma'am my elders, so a lot is made of my beautiful manners. But eloquent eyebrows signal disapproval. My hair is a snarled mess, and my legs, scabbed and ashy, stick out from the hem of my rumpled dress. I was raised to be exquisitely sensitive to the disapproval of elders. An achy knot forms in my chest, one that I will carry with me for the rest of my days at the prospect of black disapproval. I am not proper, I need fixing, and I know it. A sympathetic soul passes a jar of Vaseline up the aisle. My seatmate literally oils my legs, arms, and face. She asks if anybody has a comb, which is promptly produced along with a boar bristle brush and a few beaded ponytail holders. I know better than to wince under the uncompromising strength of her hand, which unapologetically yanks out the snarls. When it is finished, my hair is so smooth and so tight, it pulls my eyes slantwise. I feel ashamed. I feel included. I feel safe. After making me presentable, my elderly seatmate asks if I'm hungry. It is a strict law in black culture that children politely decline to eat a stranger's food. I deny my hunger to more favorable murmurs about my beautiful manners. But a filled paper plate is nevertheless firmly placed on my lap. It sags under the weight of homemade fried chicken, potato salad, cornbread, and other fixings the group has packed to sustain themselves on their journey. Before we can eat, though, there's going to be a prayer. Somebody starts with the basics, thanking the Lord for the food and for fellowship and family. Another voice asks the Lord to keep everyone safe on the road. Someone begins to pray for me. To choruses of yes, Lord, and that's right, Lord. They pray that I do well in school. They pray for my mama, who is working so hard to do right by me. And they pray to keep me safe from every evil thing. Amen, Lord. Are you coming to Beijing too? I reply that I'm traveling to Japan. She looks nonplussed. Are you with the military? I reply that I'm a Japanese history doctoral student, that I'm traveling to do my dissertation research. A line appears between her eyebrows. She leans back a bit, frowning, and stares down at me from her superior height. After a protracted considering pause, she replies, that's interesting, and turns her back to me to rejoin her friends. The second piece I'm going to read, I want to say that there's a trigger warning in it for a man behaving very badly. So if you will need to excuse yourself, please feel free to do that. This piece is called Pilgrimage. Summer morning, a train station platform in the city of Fukuoka, Japan. The hot air is waterlogged and ripe with the stench of sun-baked beer vomit. A sluggish breeze oozes down the platform, ripples my blue dress, but does nothing to cool the glaze of sweat already beating behind my knees. This dress I'm wearing is important. It features a pattern of stringed pearls on a dark navy background. The lace yoke reveals the merest suggestion of cleavage, but redirects attention to my collarbones, which are delicate and lovely despite the broad shoulders that define my frame. I have chosen a pair of fine mother-of-pearl earrings that dangle 2 inches below my earlobes. They accentuate a slender neck, around which an irregularly shaped opal hangs from a simple gold chain. This outfit is the most aggressively feminine ensemble I possess. It is intended to signal to the Japanese that despite my height, despite my thick body, despite my black skin, despite my afro, despite everything about me that is wrong and out of place, that I am, in fact, a mature female of good character on legitimate business. Many years of experience in Japan have taught me that this is not as obvious as one would think. I'm on my way to Amikasu Women's Center, where I, a young visiting scholar from America, am to give a talk on American feminism at the turn of the 21st century to a half dozen or so feminist activists and to several local scholars who specialize in the study of Japanese women. It is a pilgrimage of sorts. My real task is to genuflect over the elders of the local women's community. Their approval will open many doors to my research goals. I know this. They know this. My performance must be flawless. I want to catch the 7:28 train. I must not miss the 7:28 train. If I miss the 7:28, I will miss the 8:02 bus. If I meet the 8:02, I will arrive at Amikasu Women's Center in time for the presentation, but not in time to excuse myself to the ladies' room, where I can sit on the toilet with my head between my knees, deep breathing to subvert the incipient panic attack currently lurking in my solar plexus. Standing on the platform, outfit wilting in the humidity, I gradually become aware of a sound distinctly out of place in a waking neighborhood. I can't identify it. Something like a child's wet feet slapping against hot cement whilst running at a swimming pool. It makes no sense. I glance to the left and then the right, see nothing odd. I realize that the sound carried along on the suffocating breeze is coming from behind me. The noise is persistent enough and strange enough that I eventually turn around to see what it is. Weeds slope downhill from the train platform to a fence separating the station property from the public thoroughfare. A couple of bike racks hug the sidewalk. Next to the sidewalk, a road runs parallel to the train tracks. Bicyclists make their way along, calmly maneuvering around pedestrians and between parked cars. A series of sharp, harsh barks interrupts the slapping sound, redirecting my gaze to a car parked on the sidewalk beside the fence. From the height of the platform, I can see straight downhill into the driver's side window. The driver is staring at me, vigorously masturbating. The open car window and the audible grunts are intentional. The driver wants me to witness this perversion. He wants me to be a participant in my own desecration. My feet are the first thing to go numb. The sensation rapidly spreads upward, calves to knees to thighs. I feel my spirit begin to slip free of its moorings. It tries to float from my skull heavenward. No, I tell myself and cling to the sensation of my jackrabbiting heart. No, I chant firmly. I've got to catch my spirit before it escapes my body entirely, leaving me insensate and vulnerable on the train station platform. With each successive no, a dormant kernel of anger stirs, puts out tiny, tender rootlets, then sprouts in the heat of my gut, pushing upwards towards the sun, then blooms into rage. The rage helps me stand my ground against metastatic numbness. Those are my toes pinched in the tips of my pumps. That's my spirit scrounging for purchase in my viscera. The rage purifies, narrows, focuses on the nameless man grinning greasily at me from the car. I refuse to look away. I refuse to blink. I refuse to be embarrassed or to accept humiliation that accompanies abject helplessness. I am neither abject nor helpless. The shame he wants me to bear belongs to him. The humiliation he wants me to accept belongs to him. I push my shoulders back and straighten my spine. I feel my body swelling with the contempt that 3 generations of women in my family have always held for stupid, useless, failing men who believe that the privilege of a prick compensates for the shame of living impotent, insignificant, sorry little lives. 3 generations of contempt spasm across my face as he spasms all over his hand, his tie, his steering wheel. I stare him down from the train platform across the weed-choked foreground to where he sits in the driver's seat, a sticky embarrassment to his ancestors. The glee retreats from his expression. Uncertainty takes its place. I slowly shake my head from side to side, broadcasting utter derision. He is the first to look away, his uncertainty morphing into fear. Glancing furtively around the car, he searches for some way to clean himself up, Failing that, he slams the car into gear, squealing the tires in his haste to escape his own repulsiveness. The station loudspeaker alerts me that the train will arrive momentarily. It cheerfully encourages passengers to be careful of the approaching train. I board the train, take a seat, and as the other passengers do, retreat into myself, posture erect, face tilted toward the floor, eyes closed. I arrive at Amikasa Women's Center feeling as if I've been blanketed in a chill shroud. After a round of introductions, the center's director guides me through a tour of the facility. I will not have time for a restroom retreat. Instead, we discuss the institution's history, its funding, and the kinds of events and services it offers to the region's women. Japanese grammar patterns tangle on my tongue. Sluggish as molasses in winter. The director gives me my own library card, inviting me to visit their book collection whenever I like. The presentation I prepared is about my generation's American feminist agenda. I outline our work creating the language for sexualized violence, then describe our push for legislation to define and criminalize violence against women in all of its various forms. It is difficult and emotional labor, I explain, reaching a generation that remembers nothing about, takes for granted, or derides the accomplishments of first and second wave feminists. For my generation, I remark, feminism is a dirty word. A knot forming in my stomach has crept up my esophagus. I swallow it down. Somehow I finish the speech. There's polite applause. Several women compliment my Japanese. Ritualized replies tumble from my mouth like ice chunks. Other women ask questions about my doctoral research. I answer as best I can, senses buzzing with numbness. Then Dr. Yamagita Hiroko, the senior-most authority on the history of Japanese women, firmly redirects the meandering conversation with what I instantly understand to be terrible gentleness. Fear thaws my torpor. How is it that you come to study Japanese women in particular? The question surprises me. I am frequently asked how I've come to study Japanese history itself, to which I have a humorous, largely disingenuous, patented narrative. I have never been asked why I study Japanese women. The only answer that comes to my cotton wool wrapped brain is the obvious one, because I too am a woman. But a glib response, even if true, will not do. I pull the edges of myself together, fumble, then rally my faculties to think of something scholarly, something historiographical. Japanese women are rarely studied by historians in America. The field is dominated by men, the majority of whom ask questions they feel have no connection to Japanese women, who they believe are restricted by tradition to a largely domestic and therefore unhistorical place. Professor Yamagita interrupts me once more. Why did you come to Japan? Why aren't you studying American women or African American women where you might actually have insight? Because, I riposte, more sharply than is wise, and catch myself. For years I've suffered the sting of friends and family and colleagues, black and white, trying to shame me into the proper intellectual ghetto. A Japanese woman doing the same is 2 steps beyond intolerable. More gently and carefully I continue, because my actual insight is that nearly everything that I've been taught about Japanese women is a fiction. Their lives are not confined to the house. I see Japanese women at work, carrying their babies on their backs. I see Japanese women selling flowers in the street or shining shoes in train stations. I see them performing rituals in shrines, working construction, and serving drinks in after-hours pubs. My insight is that the lives of Japanese women remind me of the lives of African American women, and I want to know why. Her voice seems to come from far away, muffled by the blood pressure pounding in my ears. You don't think it's exoticism? She asks rhetorically. Her voice is kind, but the grammar she wields is reserved for strangers and for enemies. Asians, especially Asian women, are frequently objectified, or in another way, exoticized. Isn't that so? The room is silent with a silence that echoes. Exoticism, she concludes definitively. This one word is a death knell. As one would expect, it's just plain exoticism. Questions? Thoughts?
The way you describe bodily sensations, being disembodied, all of it, the cotton wool around the heart. It's interestingly enough grounding because I can relate to every aspect of that. It makes the story so present, like I can first person feel like I'm witnessing and experiencing it.
I loved hearing you read it. I had read it myself, earlier,
Oh,
but
yeah.
hearing you read it just enhanced the experience overall.
Well, thank you. That's all I have.
Does anybody know what kind of birds those were?
I don't.
No. Do you?
No.
I think those are
It smells like a smells like a crystal filled in that. Yeah, that's what it sounded like. Shonda, did you reconnect the speaker set?
Almost.
Oh, the southeastern.
Sound. Not there. It needs to be reboot.